All right, guys. The chat is already blowing up. People are really excited. Man, we got some stuff to talk about. UFC San Diego just went down. Listen, Ben, on the preview show. So obviously, let me back up. I'm so excited. I can't even do a proper introduction. This is the UFC San Diego live preview show brought to you by Sherdog.com. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of Sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, on the preview show, I said that this was the event that we had to go to.
Yep.
They had to break out the book, break out the checkbook, get us there. Now I'm like, what the fuck? We should have been there.
We should have been there. I mean, that's about as much as I want to talk about the preview because you and I both ended up 5-7-1 on the night. One of my worst nights of the year in terms of picking these fights. And normally when I do that bad, I'm a little grouchy at the end of the night, just like, how did I not see that coming? Or why did you do that? But I can't be mad at this card. This card was explosive.
Yeah, if we were a betting show, I think I'd probably feel a lot worse.
I'd have a bag over my head right now if this were a betting show.
Yeah. So a couple of things real quick. I know some guys have been complaining about the audio, Ben being louder than me. I think I actually know why that was the case. I have an AC right next to me, and it's hard to hear Ben. So I kind of, not thinking, I adjusted him up so I can hear him better, not realizing that you guys you might have been blasting. I don't know if this has worked. If this is better. That's why I got the headphones in. It's kind of weird because I hear myself and I feel like muffled. But if it works better for you guys, let us know. If not, there's something else we might have to do. I went 5-7-1, and one of the fights I got right, I probably should have got wrong. So let's and guys, let us know if the audio is okay. Shout out to everybody in the chat. The chat's already blowing up. So thank you guys. All right, let's get right into it. Former UFC Bantamweight champion. A lot of people consider the greatest Bantamweight of all time. A lot of people consider him a top 10-ish, top 15-ish fighter of all time. Dominick Cruz took on Marlon Vera. It was going pretty good for Dominick Cruz to start. I mean, Dominick Cruz, he looked as good as I've ever seen him, other than the 3 knockdowns. But other than brief moments in the fight, he was dominating this fight. His output, his couple takedowns. It seemed like at times, you ever do that like Carnival or like a Six Flags, something they have that machine where it's like it's like, I don't know, like this bubble thing you go in and kids go in it and they blow like tickets and they have to try to catch tickets.
Yes.
And you swing this way, but the ticket gets blown that way. Like that's what Dominick Cruz was. Like Marlon Vera was trying to throw and Dominick Cruz wasn't there. And that's what it looked like until Marlon Vera landed a shot. Just talk to me about this fight. I got so much to talk about this fight and the night.
What does it say that on a night that he ended up just literally face planted on the floor, knocked out? All I want to talk about is how great Dominick Cruz is. There are a bunch of things to say about him. It is one of the most interesting and most admirable things about him is how much he has continued to evolve and retool his game, even while he was one of the 5 best pound for pound fighters in the world. Like how many people it takes? There's only a few of them, like the Kamaru Usman types, where they're already on top of the world and they're still improving their game. He's such a different fighter than he was a decade ago. One unintended outcome of all of his knee surgeries and of him advancing in age and getting into his late 30s. I mean, he still does his like little patented dance, but he doesn't do it as much. And it means that he sits down on his punches more now. He has so much more power than he did during his so-called prime. Win or lose, he hurts just about everybody he fights these days. He has that just sneaky, stinging power that you can tell his opponents are like, I thought this guy was toting water pistols. Like, why did that hurt so much? Like, there's just a moment of surprise every time he fights. His takedown game is still on point. I'm trying to think of fighters who have made as good an adjustment and retooling of their game to cope with age and injury as him. And it's down to like him and Shogun Rua as the fighters who have remained relevant and found ways to stay relevant even after their bodies have kind of started to betray them.
Yeah, I'll agree with that to some point. Shogun wasn't as long. Like he's fought as long, and his run, his run back to the title was a much shorter point. I remember, so I take notes and I kind of I'm always thinking about the recap show. What am I going to talk about? What topics I want to talk about? What I think Ben's going to say. And I was writing down notes and I was saying to myself, and this is, second round, third round, I'm going, if Dominick Cruz continues this up, I'm going to be asking, is he the best bantamweight in the world right now?
Yeah.
From what we were seeing, which is ironic considering he got dropped 3 times up until that point. I'll say this. I think Dominick Cruz is so smart. I mean, we talked about that on the previous show. The fact that he came out and threw an 8-punch combination to start the fight.
Well, a high kick and then an 8-punch combination.
Okay,
he hit right out and tried to kick him in the face. Yeah. Because
Marlon Vera is a slow starter, and then he's throwing feints out, then he's reacting to feints. Every attack is different. At one point, I don't know if you caught this. At one point, he threw his hand up on one side to kind of get Marlon Vera's eyes to go to the hand, and he throws a combination down the middle of this. Everything was going so great. But there's something about Marlon Vera. He has this a little different than what we saw with Brian Ortega, where Brian Ortega would lose rounds, and then all of a sudden he'd lose until he didn't. Take out the Rob Font fight, because Rob Font fight, he was brilliant throughout the whole fight, but it's kind of been the thing with him. Frankie Edgar's beating him until he gets brutally knocked out. Dominick Cruz is having his way until a high kick that would put anybody out. A knockout of the year candidate, probably. This Marlon Vera, so let me ask you this. When I think of Marlon Vera, I think of a low-end to mid-card UFC fighter who lost to Douglas Silva D'Andrade and nobody was calling Marlon Vera a future title contender or this or that. To have this kind of where the hell is this coming from type runs, and obviously he's hurting guys, he's putting them out, he's submitting guys, he's doing all this. I mean, Anthony Smith,
Matt Brown, Anthony Smith or Matt Brown, I would say.
Okay, yeah, this is the run he's on, where it's if Marlon Vera won the UFC title, it would not shock me at all. He could beat any fighter in the world right now.
Yes.
And I'm saying that for a guy who lost 99% of this fight.
He did. And it's an interesting thing because for the first 2.5 rounds, Cruz had all the momentum. You mentioned it. He kind of rattled him from the beginning just by coming out aggressive in a way that you don't usually expect from Dominick Cruz. And then, he had him biting on feints to the point that he was almost clowning him. But in both of the first 2 rounds, just a couple of times, Vera caught him clean and hurt him. Or even just kind of dropped him to a knee and Cruz bounced up. It wasn't enough to win those rounds, but it was enough just to blunt that momentum just a little bit. Yeah. And then in the third round, he caught him enough times that, okay, you got at least 1.5 legit knockdowns in this round. And I thought he won the third round. I saw some people scored it for Cruz, but clearly
it was close. I was on the fence.
It was close.
I was on the fence.
It was easy to see the way this fight was going. Finally, Vera was picking up the momentum, but I was kind of sneaky thinking he's going to catch him clean enough that he's going to put him down. I didn't think it was going to be a head kick, but just as Cruz slowed a little bit more and more, Vera started to find him, started to work out that, mystifying rhythm. It's such a cliche. It's such a lazy statement to say that power is the great equalizer, but there are certain fighters for whom there's really no other way to put it. He can be getting literally just outclassed, just schooled, and he only has to hit you once.
Yeah. Shout out to Bruce Bob Trotter. He mentioned Charles Oliveira. That's actually probably the perfect example of a guy who, was a mid-card, and maybe a little higher than that, but Charles Oliveira.
Oliveira, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He wasn't as low down. I don't think he was ever viewed as low as Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera to me was just
another guy.
Yeah, just another guy. And the run he's on is absolutely incredible. You talked about the great guys. It reminds me of a starting pitcher who's pitching a gem and he's going into, it's 1-0 going to the 8th inning. And his offense is giving him 1 run. And you're like, yeah, he's pitching a gem, but okay, he gives up a walk. Okay. Boom, 1 shot. Now it's 2-1. And, you lost the game. That's how I feel the power is. You can be having, Dominick Cruz was throwing an absolute shutout. He was doing amazing. If we counted the actual time Marlon Vera won, would you have counted more than 10 seconds? If you had a stopwatch,
That'd be about right. Yeah.
You figure the 3 knockdowns were about 1.5 seconds, and then a couple other good shots he landed here and there. And that's about it. We were about, I don't know, 17 minutes in or so, 18 minutes in, and Dominick Cruz won about 16 and a half of those minutes. But I will say this: he didn't make adjustments, so it wasn't just he landed a good shot; he was making adjustments. Early on, he was really having a hard time with the speed. He was falling for all the feints. He was backing straight up at the center line, and Cruz just kept laying on him. Then when he went to kind of swing back, Cruz would be gone. He got taken down a couple times. They didn't really do anything with him, but he did get taken down. Then he started doing it. He started stuffing takedown attempts. He started not biting on some of the feints. He started he landed a couple power shots inside, but another thing he started doing, he started throwing to spots. When he had Cruz directly in front of him, where there's 2 escapes, it's either left or right, he started throwing hooks to the outside. So if you're going to dip down, you're going to go into the hook. And then obviously the ultimate thing, he threw a kick to a spot. He said, okay, I'm going to throw this shot. I think he's going to exit to Dominick Cruz's right, Marlon Vera's left. I'm going to throw this shot. Then I'm going to go to high kick, and boom, good night.
I have a thought on this. I mean, you and I both agree that if you are a high-level fighter who, maybe you're already a good striker, maybe you're a great wrestler, maybe you're a great grappler, you're a good striker, and you want to take your striking to the next level, there's probably nothing better for you than to go spend a year with Trevor Whitman. Yeah. I would say if you're fighting a fighter who appears that he might be a bad matchup for you, and you need somebody to find the key and help you make in-fight adjustments, there might not be anyone better than Jason Perillo. Like if you want to have your Michael Bisping left hook Larry moments because he has figured out Luke Rockhold for you, like Jason Perillo is your guy. And I think what we're seeing in Vera, and this is nothing against Colin Oyama, who has brought along, multiple UFC champs. He's at least had a hand in the development of multiple UFC champs.
He has a current champion now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. He has a current champion now. Like one of the quietly greatest coaches in MMA history. But Vera's move to Jason Perillo, I think, has really helped him. It's made him less of a straight up brawler and a little more of a technician.
Yeah, what impressed me about this performance is when Dominick Cruz is doing all the things Dominick Cruz does, the ultimate mystery guy. He's dancing around, you're swinging at air, you're not hitting, you're in his hometown. Every shot he lands, the crowd's going crazy. He drops you a takedown, the crowd's going crazy. To stay calm, poised, continue to work down on all 3 judges had him down 2-1. I thought you could make it, like you said, I think you could make an argument 3-0, but all the judges have him down 2-1. You got to win the 4th and the 5th round or get a knockout to stay calm in those moments. And then actually, I dropped Dominick Cruz, and he pops up immediately and then throws a 10-punch combination on me, trying to steal that moment back. He never got the moment. He lands the big shot, and Cruz is back on his feet, and next thing he knows, he's backing up, getting hit with an 8-punch combination. So let me ask you this. Dominick Cruz, we talked about how good he looked, and some people asking, should he retire? I get it. When you reach a certain point in your career, it's really championship or bust. Do you really want to stick around? I'm not going to get into whether Dom should retire or not. I think he showed that he could still react, and beat a lot of good guys. But my question I got to ask is the 3 knockdowns, not the kick. The kick knocks out anybody. He lands out on TJ Dillashaw. He lands out on Aljamain Sterling. He lands out on Patreon. Anybody is putting him out. Mm-hmm. But the 3 knockdowns, do you credit that to Vera's power, or do you start questioning Dominick Cruz's chin a little bit?
I think it's a little bit of both. And it's worth mentioning that, they would be counted as knockdowns in official scoring, but a lot of that is the way Dominick Cruz moves. It's possible to kind of catch him in the air off balance and get him to drop to his knees or drop to his butt for a sec with something that's half being knocked off balance and half being actually hurt.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And there was no follow-up shots. You couldn't. Dominick Cruz was popping him back up before you even throw a follow-up shot. He was grabbing a leg and then back up.
Yeah, but at least one of the ones in the 3rd round was just, legit. Cruz was stunned, and then obviously the finish was absolutely brutal. It's worth mentioning that Dominick Cruz, for all he's done, 10 years of fighting the best fighters in the world, 15 years of fighting the best fighters in the world, 10 years of being the best fighter in that weight class. He's 28-4. This is the first time he's lost to a non-champ, and it's the first time he's really been hurt bad.
And that might change too. He could have lost to a future champ.
Yes, and that's entirely possible. Punches and Bunches in the chat mentions Vera's sprawl. I mean, his sprawl looked spectacular, but it was overcommitted. I mean, he sprawled out so hard that a couple of times off a successfully defended takedown, Cruz got up first and was already throwing punches at him again by the time Vera really had his feet under him. I'm sure you guys saw that. He pancaked, and that would have looked beautiful in a wrestling match, but this is a mixed martial arts contest, and Cruz is the first man back to his feet, and he's punching you again.
Yeah. I was looking at Marlon Vera. We talked about this in the chat. We talked about hey, you're going into a hometown. I asked the question hey, is he going to have, my terrible geography. I'm like, is he going to have any people from Ecuador there? There was surprisingly a lot of Ecuador fans. I just looked it up while you're talking. That's an 8-hour flight. That's not that's not an easy trip. That'd be basically, me to San Diego. No, longer than that. I live in New England. I don't know how long a flight. I've actually been to San Diego.
For you, it's like a little under 4 hours. It's like 3.5, 4-hour flight.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
so it's almost basically fly to New England to San Diego on the back. That's the commitment of these guys. Now, again, I'm not saying they all live in Ecuador. They could have been
probably Americans, Americans living in America of Ecuadorian descent.
Yeah, which is probably the case. But the fact is, there was a lot of Ecuador flags flying around in that arena, in an arena that the other guy's hometown. So we actually might have a little star in the making in Marlon Vera for a guy that I never thought he could be a star. But not and I'm not even talking about the skill wise. I mean the personality and everything. He kind of starting to get that.
He is. There's something very raw and heart on the sleeve about him. They cannot get him to stop dropping the F-bomb. It's literally impossible. He's done it on pay-per-view cards. He's done it on free cable cards. I don't care, but the UFC traditionally has tried to bleep those out. They don't even try with him. It's impossible to get him not to swear. He says some really inappropriate things in Spanish sometimes. It doesn't.
Okay.
What I'm saying is fans gravitate towards that. I enjoy it. I don't need somebody to be foul-mouthed for me to like it, but I do like it if they're real. It's
the reason why they just swearing nonstop. It's the reason why we haven't had Adam Duffy on in a while. We just him just nonstop swearing. We couldn't. We had to say, Adam, come on, dude. This is a family show.
I do want to pull something out of the chat here because he's mentioned it a couple times. West Coast is kind of fighting the good fight more or less alone in the comment section right now in saying that Cruz's performance wasn't as good as some of us might have thought. Thought he was missing on a lot of those punches.
West Coast is trolling.
I can't tell.
I love the guy, but he's trolling a little bit. Come on. I thought the argument could be 3-0 for Cruz. 2-1. I mean, the first round he got dropped and still won the round. I mean, the total strikes was 50-5 or something.
McDonald.
He was backing him up with shots. I mean, let me ask you this. So we're talking about the Bantamweight division. The big thing, the narrative tonight was all the top guys are fighting in the next month. How far is this guy from a title shot? Right now, okay, Dillashaw finishes. Dillashaw is the first guy. He's already booked.
Yep.
Is Vera next?
I think Vera needs to win one more.
Okay.
I mean, it looks good that he's on a 4-fight win streak. That's longer than any of the other people I'm about to start talking about here. If you want me to talk about possible next matches for him, there's 2 fights coming up, and each of them has one person that Vera's already fought. There's Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili, and then there's Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley.
Okay.
If you can get him one of the winners of those two, if one of the guys that he has not fought yet comes out of one of those fights the winner, I think that's a good title eliminator. Or even if it's O'Malley, an O'Malley-Vera rematch is very sellable. That is a smoking fight night main event. You know that they'll talk it up because they are so salty at each other.
Honestly, it's either a fight night main event or it could even be a pay-per-view co-main event. with the embedded, with the press conference, with all that. I was kind of thinking of an audit right now. Like I like to do it for a lot of the division. You know, I like doing the phone call, who gets the phone call thing.
Yeah.
I like looking at the divisions. If Dillashaw's won, I'm probably going like the next person. Sorry, and I apologize for my dog barking. This way, get live TV, live podcasting. I'm probably going, and this is going to upset a lot of people, and I know it's because this is a hardcore. See, the hardcores might hate this. I'm going Jan O'Malley winner, getting the next shot. No, and O'Malley already said that he's been promised a title shot if he wins. This, that. Nice job, Dog Kenneth, saying his wife is playing gargoyle music. He's got to go. So I wonder if I want to date with Dog Kenneth's wife. Is that? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I mean, Jan has the credentials. If he beats O'Malley, he deserves a shot. Arguably beat Sterling in the fight where Sterling beat him. Obviously, the disqualification the first time, the second one was extremely close, highly debated. But O'Malley, if he beats Jan, that's as good as win as anybody in the discussion has.
Yeah.
And then who's the most marketable of everybody? It'd have to be O'Malley.
It'd have to be O'Malley.
So he has both things going for him.
He does.
Even though Vera has the win over him. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2. My number 3, I'm going Aldo if he beats Merab. The reason I'm going Aldo if he beats Merab, you have a short window with Aldo, kind of like get him out of the way. Like he beats Merab, guy, give him a shot after that. Then I'm going Vera. Then I'm going Merab if Merab beats Aldo. Like that's my pecking order.
And Merab suffers here from him and Sterling having trained together for so long. Things get a lot clearer for him if Dillashaw beats Sterling.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden Merab is sitting here like, I'm the Leon Edwards of this division. I've won 312 fights in a row. Yeah. What the hell do I need to do?
Not counting the fights that he should have won too. Like the Ricky Simone fight.
Well, if not for that, he's 9-0 in the UFC right now. He's undefeated. Yeah.
So, if I'm Merab, I'm cornering out Jermaine Sterling, and if Dillashaw beats him, I'm jumping in the cage and getting in a fight with him. Like I'm doing it, like you know what I mean? Like I'm making myself next to the lion. So you went with either Aldo, Merab. And of course, that was like this guy doesn't pick the phone, that guy doesn't get the phone. Now you're saying, okay, everything goes as planned. You're saying Aldo, Merab versus Vera. Is that what you went with?
Or
Jan O'Malley.
Or either one, whichever one comes out of it and hasn't fought him yet.
Okay.
The one that hasn't fought Vera yet. Like we need to wait and see.
Okay. Okay. So after Dillashaw fighting Sterling, who are you giving the title shot to? Say Sterling wins.
If Sterling wins, then I wait for Jan O'Malley, and if O'Malley wins that, it's O'Malley versus Sterling.
Okay, so you're going the same way. You're going with the winner of Jan O'Malley. You're doing the same.
Yeah, I mean, on strict merit, it probably isn't quite as deserved, but it's kind of like every lightweight champ is willing to give Conor McGregor a pass to come on forward. You know, which do you think Sterling or Dillashaw is going to want? They're going to want the payday, and they probably see O'Malley's easy money. Yeah.
Who's a better stylistic matchup for Marlon Vera? Would you say Vera actually does? Say, you know what? He just beat Dominick Cruz. Dominick Cruz is the GOAT. He just won a fight night. We're giving him the next title shot, which actually wouldn't shock me. I'm not expecting it, but like it wouldn't shock me. I don't think everyone would have a beef if he does get the next title shot. No. That said, who's an easier stylistic matchup for him?
For
Sterling or Dillashaw?
I think they're both rough stylistic matchups for Vera. Honestly, Dillashaw is a younger, faster, healthier, harder hitting version of what Cruz was. And Sterling would absolutely make him pay for a lot of the things he did against Cruz if he tried them against him. Yeah, as was already mentioned, like those ridiculously overdone sprawls, Aljo's taking his back and taking his neck the first time he does that.
Yeah, that's why I think Aljo would be a little tougher matchup. I trusted the durability of him too. Now, of course, he got like knocked dead by Marlon Rice years ago. But Dominick Cruz, do you want to see Dominick Cruz fight again?
Absolutely. Dominick Cruz, I mean, anytime he's fighting, I find him entertaining to watch. I thought he was entertaining to watch even during the early, teens when people thought he was like, boring and a dancer and all this stuff. I've always thought it was enjoyable to watch him fight. Every minute he's fighting is a minute he isn't talking. That's an added bonus. I want to see him fight. I don't want to see him get hurt. But again, he was winning this fight through the halfway points of the fight. If this was a pay-per-view like co-main event and this were a 3-round fight, he's winning that fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. He went to 3-round fight. That's a good point.
Yeah. And obviously we say this every time. They would have fought differently. They would have trained differently, but he wasn't outclassed tonight.
Yeah. I'll say this. Dominick Cruz is one of the few, of course, he's had better days. It's very unlikely that he'll ever hold the UFC title again. But he is one of these guys that has this incredible turnaround. He's done it in the past. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Dominick Cruz is a champion 2 years from now. I'm not expecting it, so don't cut that. But he's one of the few guys that it could actually really happen.
It's tough to count him out because, again, he's still shockingly competitive with top fighters, and he's still figuring out how to make it work with what his body is still willing to give him. It's one of the most admirable things about him. One other I'm going to keep saying nice things about Dominick Cruz tonight. One of the most surprising and underrated things about the guy, just considering that his reputation is as a finesse fighter, a hit but not be hit fighter, not a finisher, a finesse guy. And his personality on the mic is, frankly, it's a little prissy.
Yeah.
He is a tough dude. He is just tough as nails.
Absolutely.
That's bottom line.
I love him. He sold me. He sold me. Every time he talks about his fights and he's sold me. If Dominick Cruz was a car dealer, I'd be driving out with the new Range Rover. Damn it, son of a bitch! I went to get my tires rotated, and he sold me a car. What the hell? Yeah. So that said, I'll give you one name that I agree with you. I do want to see him fight again. Frankie Edgar. I mean, Frankie Edgar's done. If we're being honest, he's nowhere near. He's not in the realm. But I don't want to see Cruz getting over younger guys. But I also don't want to see Cruz stopping the younger guys either, because he's got that skill where it's not like you know what it is. You know when they're getting the older guy against the younger guy, and it's like, okay, you're passing the torch. That ain't the case with Dominick Cruz.
He wasn't. I mean, we're not talking about a blue chip of the blue chip prospects, but a guy that I thought had kind of a top 10 ceiling, and he changed the way I see Casey Kenny.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean, I don't want to see him just used as a sacrificial lamb, like the way we talk about people like, Thiago Santos the other week, just see him get brutalized. But we can't insult the guy either. I want to see him fight either more up-and-comers that aren't quite to Vera's level, or former contenders that need a bounce back. I mean, I want to give him something as high as maybe the winner of Song versus Sandhagen.
Okay. So you're going a different. I'm doing the.
I mean, I love the Edgar fight, and that's a fight where it's like we could have made this fight between two all-time greats in the same general weight range, and we didn't. Why not? I think he absolutely tools this version of Frankie Edgar.
So do I.
But
Alan McDonald made a good point that Frankie Edgar wants his retirement fight to be in New York this year, where they go to November. I don't know if that's possible now with Cruz. If you get knocked out like this, I don't think he can turn around that quick.
Well, he's got. I'm not sure if his nose is more of an Andre Arlovsky or Mike Perry right now, but that's going to need some work. There are some dudes in the UFC. There are many dudes in the UFC, and quite a few women who they'll see that nose put on sideways, and they're just like, just let it ride. That's like a rock chip in your windshield. Fuck it. Dominick Cruz ain't going to do that. Dominick Cruz's nose will be fixed post-haste.
Yeah.
Scott McCrate in the chat apparently hates neck tattoos because he wants to see Dom try and avenge the Garbrandt loss. He would not try and avenge the Garbrandt loss.
I don't hate it.
He would style on Garbrandt right now.
I don't hate it. It makes sense for Cruz. It doesn't make sense for Garbrandt. Why do it if you're Garbrandt? I mean, the only argument for Garbrandt, right, is if you beat Cruz, it really is an instant career turnaround.
Yeah.
Instead of the fight the lower guys. But I mean, Garbrandt looks done, and which is so crazy for a guy at not that long ago looked like oh my God, look what he just did to Dominick Cruz. This guy is going to be a star. He's going to be a champion forever. To where he is now. I'm a little higher on Garbrandt than a lot of people. I do think the back surgeries and stuff has a lot to play with that.
Well, Sherdog editor-in-chief Mike Fridley, my boss and yours, well, your boss at your part-time gig, my literal actual boss.
Sorry, you can say he's my boss.
Yeah, he pointed out it's a neck surgery in particular that ruined his head movement, and that's part of why he's so susceptible to getting knocked out now. Just there isn't that give in his neck to, one, get him out of the way of punches, and two, have something absorbing the impact other than his brain when he does get hit. Just his neck's a lot stiffer now.
Yeah. The problem is, like, he won't retire. He'll go to bare knuckle boxing or something. So
he will absolutely go to bare knuckle boxing. We're talking about a guy that was a promising college wrestler and just left and moved across the country because he got in a knife fight in the parking lot. You're telling me that dude who will get in a knife fight for free isn't going to punch people for $5,000? Hell yes, he's going to bare knuckle. Yeah,
he was trying to fight Conor McGregor on the Ultimate Fighter show when he wasn't even the coach. He was the assistant coach, and so the rest of the fights were absolutely fantastic. But we're actually going to probably go through them a little faster than we normally do, because when it comes to the rankings and stuff, there's not much stuff to talk about. You know what I mean? Other than saying wow, that was a really fun fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nate Landwehr versus David Onama. Nate Landwehr won a majority decision. First of all, what the hell to that judge who scored it a draw? If you're not giving Nate Landwehr at least a 10-8 round in the second, then you'll never ever give him a 10-8 round ever.
No. I think that's where.
Oh wait, I fucked it up. Scary.
Yeah.
He did give it to him, but then he gave Onama the third round because he had a flurry at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I disagree with as well.
I screwed that up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only question is whether you gave the third round to Onama or Landwehr. I gave it to Landwehr, and I thought it was pretty obvious, but
Yeah. So, okay, it's so many things I want to talk about. First of all, Onama's really good. He is. You see what he did in the first round. He probably puts out a lot of other guys who aren't as tough as Nate Landwehr. That said, Nate Landwehr's cardio and Onama's lack of cardio, it was like a double-edged sword. Not only did you struggle with cardio, you face the guy whose tool is cardio. You know what I mean? So Landwehr starts taking over. I'll say this. He almost lost the fight because of some of his antics. At one point, he was on top of Onama. There was maybe 30 seconds left, and he just gets off him.
Yep.
He gives him a chance.
I thought he was going to do the Brock Lesnar on Heath Herring, roping the steer thing. I was like, what are you doing?
So he almost, and then one of the judges actually gave the round because, Onama gets up and lands some big shots at the end. That judge gave Onama the round. What are you doing, dude? You're beating the hell out of this guy. But Onama showed incredible heart. The broadcast was saying that he's breaking him. And I actually was saying that myself. I actually wrote in the notes. I had to cross it out. And then I said, no, his body is failing him, but his spirit was there the whole time. I mean, he was trying to get knockouts in the third round.
He was, and which is why some people gave him the third round, because he was exhausted, but he put out just a couple of bursts of offense because he was still trying to win the fight. He knew he probably needed a finish or a really clear win in that round. And so he just did a couple little bursts of offense. The crowd went wild for it.
Sure.
That same round in the Apex, nobody scores it for Onama. In a dead silent room with 200 people in it, nobody scores that round for Onama.
Which is, again, UFC, enough with this. I understand it's probably, obviously it's a money thing. It's always a money thing. But, you got to go traveling everywhere now. Just look how the crowd reacts. It just makes it more exciting. Even if you're watching at home, you can feel the excitement different than at the Apex. But that said, going to the third round, yeah, he had a couple flurries where he kind of he actually dropped Landwehr, more like overwhelmed him than dropped him, if that makes sense. But he also was stuck in like a front headlock, eating knees where it almost was stopped. He was mounted, eating elbows. Like there was huge moments in the third round for like Landwehr was closer to stopping that fight than Onama was.
Agreed. Like,
so I gotta ask this question, and there was a moment, really intense moment, going into the third round. They zoomed right in. You had the entire corner. It was all James Krause, and he says, "Do you want to continue fighting? Do you want to continue?" He asked him like 10 times. He never answers him. Or at least I didn't hear him. So he may have answered him.
Maybe just a low mumble thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I actually have no problem with it because, as Technical Wealth pointed out, I thought Krause was about to stop the fight between rounds. I don't think this was head games. And it's funny that I said this on the preview.
So hold on. I think we're like looking at this at a different angle. I'm asking, like, not that he's playing. Hey, I'm saying, like, are you okay with him not stopping it? Now, of course, Onama actually had moments and showed incredible heart, but it's like you have to put yourself in that moment. Like hindsight 2020. So ignore the third round. Put yourself in that moment. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Are you okay with it? And I'm sorry to interrupt you. So continue what you want to say.
I'm fine with it. Like and again, we've said this before when we've talked about coaching interactions between fighters. We're eavesdropping on 60 seconds of conversation between people who have spent hundreds or thousands of hours together. They have coded language. They know each other better than family. Often they've been working together and spend more hours a week together than those people do with their spouses. Like, so I'm always hesitant to judge. And the thing is, I kind of mentioned this on the preview. James Krause, being who he is, just a gritty guy who got by on being tough and being the better grappler. He loses his shit so hard when his fighters are gassing out, getting out hustled, or getting out grappled. It's just funny to hear him losing his mind in the corner. But I thought this was well done. And while they didn't get the W, I think he pulled something out of Onama that they can build off going forward.
Yeah, it's a really, really, like, I see both arguments because I agree with what you're saying. Like, you put a young fighter in a tough moment and he can learn from that. He can learn that even though I'm so exhausted, I still got a round by a judge. Like, a judge gave me that round. The other side is, how much extra damage did he take in a fight that he was not going to win? And he is different. Now he's different than a lot of guys. He is the big puncher. He is an explosive guy. It's not your TriStar guys. It's not your
it's not sending Sam Alvey out for like
it's a hobby there. It's, you're not throwing him out there who's a point fighter. Like, he is a knockout artist. So I understand that. But when I asked the fighter 10 times in a row and he doesn't answer me, and he probably did say, like, yes, I want to. But did he really? Like, why didn't he say it right away?
Yeah.
Again, it's hindsight 2020. So he gave you moments. So I actually think so that with me saying he should have stopped it, he was right. Like, he almost won the fight. Like, he almost knocked him out. So James Krause was right, but the result could be right. But the moment, like, I still don't think like the intention is right.
I don't mind it as bad. I mean, he was definitely losing the fight, but he wasn't taking Calvin Kattar, Max Holloway types of damage. He wasn't getting 80 headshots around landed on him.
Okay.
Like all the momentum.
He was taking some big shots.
It wasn't Chris Moutinho versus Sean O'Malley, where there is zero chance your guy is coming back to win this. You're just sending him out for nothing but.
Yeah.
And
Alan McDonald threw out the Thomas Gifford one, which is one that a lot of people got upset because I was saying throwing the towel. And then he gets face planted and knocked out cold. And we're like, that's why we were saying it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as somebody who he came up on the local scene and had basically barely fought past like the 3-minute mark in any of his fights, getting him experience in, going into deep water, it's probably a good thing for him going forward.
Yeah, it could be. And again, I'll say I actually think it was the right decision. Well, obviously the results showed that, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to judge these things by, like, you can't judge them solely based on the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he still took, because the point is he still lost. So as I'm saying, it was the right decision. Well, he still lost, and he took a whole bunch of damage in that third round, so it wasn't the right decision.
Right, and
like he didn't get anything extra by going out the third round. The only thing he got extra was punches.
Maybe a fight of the night bonus.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I love that the showboating that Landwehr did in the moment. Like he jumped on the mic. He had this moment. I had no idea what the hell he was saying because he had this.
Thank you.
Well, some of it. One is he's breathing hard. You know what I mean? Like he just fought a freaking.
Don't make excuses for this man. That was one of the most hill-jacked accents I have ever heard.
Yeah, listen, as a guy with an accent, like I don't want to throw somebody the bus, but there was a former employee of Sherdog who said that I couldn't do this job because of my accent, which he might be right, but yeah, that accent. I think a little bit has to do with the breathing hard, but I know he was saying funny shit. I just don't know what he was saying. Other than like I'm the toughest bastard in here or something like that. All right, so Landwehr and Onama, we don't have, do we have the awards yet?
We do.
Okay, let's hold it. The one competition for fight of the night was the fight that everyone was saying, why is this fight third from the top? We have two debuting fighters, and I apologize when I butcher these names. Yasmin Yawagi and Yasmin Lucindo. So first of all, not only did we get two fighters making their debuts that most people didn't really know about, they also had to have the same first name. Again,
it makes me wish Goldberg were still with the UFC. Their names are virtually identical.
Yeah. Again, the taking out the results, but I really did question, like, wow, why are they doing? But they got the results we wanted. This fight was unbelievable as Yarigi beat Lucindo by unanimous decision. We had a 23-year-old versus a 20-year-old. I want to hold off. I actually tweeted, Sherdog tweeted that I have a comparison to make. I'm going to hold off on that. Just give me your thoughts on these two ladies. And what's your thoughts of them moving forward?
All right. For one thing, for as much as we will criticize UFC card structure and ask, why is this fight above this one? Why is this fight on the prelims? Why is this third from the top?
Yeah.
This made Mick Maynard, who I assume it was, I believe he does the matchmaking for that division. This made him look like a genius.
Yeah,
because
well done.
It was an absolute war. It was the fight of the night for about 15 minutes until the next fight took place. And
hold on. And you could still argue it should have been the fight of the night because it was more competitive.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those ones, it was extremely competitive, but it'll be forgotten too. The Onama one won't, but continue.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in terms of their upside, because one of the reasons it was
I'm going to.
Because you're going to. One of the things that made it so entertaining was the whole Griffin Bonner thing of, for large stretches of the fight, it seemed like defense on the feet went out the window in favor of just taking turns hitting each other, which made for a great fight, but wouldn't make for a great fight once they start running into
better
like
people.
even the Angela Hills of the world.
Okay.
But they're so young. Like, they're 23 and 20. They both got very early starts. I mean, Lucindo was fighting professionally when she was 15. Yarigi has a 5-year-old, so she got started pretty early on something, considering she's 23 now. Yeah. All the time in the world for these two to develop. So do they have top 10 upside? I have no idea. They're going to be fighting for another 10 years.
Yeah, so you got a 23-year-old 20. Just think about this a second. Lucindo lost in a hell of a fight. She can't even have a beer. Like, if we believe that she's 20 years old, she can't even have a beer in California. Now, she's in California right now, so I'm sure she can make up with it with a whole bunch of weed. But technically speaking, she can't go to a bar and have a cold one. I was amazed. I didn't see a lot of negatives. I guess what you're saying, like there was a war, but I saw hand speed, which can't be taught. I saw athleticism. I loved the combinations that Yawagi was throwing. I liked her accuracy. I liked Lucinda bit down on the mouth guard and was like, yeah, you're quicker than me, but I'm going to hit you harder. I feel like this fight is one of those fights. And again, I like to live in the moment. I love to live in the moment. I love to overreact. Some of it's a little bit for podcasting, make it a little more entertaining but I feel like this is a fight where 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, oh my God, imagine when they fought and they were both making their UFC debuts. That's crazy. And we've seen that before. Where I remember George St. Pierre's UFC debut was against Karo Parisian.
Oh, and it's one of the funniest Joe Rogan performances ever, but we'll talk. That's for a different time. Anyway.
Okay, so Bass lets me know that you have to be 21 to buy cannabis in California. Okay. So nobody in California is smoking weed under the age of 21. That's nice to know.
Pretty sure he means to buy it from a dispensary.
Yeah, because I was pretty sure Snoop Dogg was rapping about marijuana when he was 19. I don't. Do you have I feel very good about these two fighters, both of them. I wasn't sure about Lucinda. If on the preview we both seemed to be like really into Yawagi. I was like, wow, this girl looks really good. Looks like someone's good at this shit. I'm not sure about Lucinda. I feel good about Lucinda now too. So I feel good about both of these females moving forward. And they're at the ages where their next fight, there could be. We talked about the defensive holes, like Yawagi might have the best head movement in the UFC by her next fight because of her age.
5 years from now, we might look at this like we do Usman versus Edwards' first fight or something.
Yeah.
Or Vittoria and Adesanya. Where
Lucinda is landing shots and hurting. She's 20. She's not even close to her power years.
Dude, yeah. She looked like a baby out there. Like just physically.
Okay. Ready for everyone to call me crazy?
I'm ready for everyone to call you crazy. Are you going to compare Yasmin Jauregui to Rose Namajunas?
No.
Okay, hit me with what you got.
I think she looked a lot. I'm thinking about a lengthy kickboxer who threw a lot of combinations, held the ground through tons of combinations, moved out of the range, got back in the pocket through a lot of combinations. She looked like the Mexican Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Oh!
And
Joanna Campeón! Go!
Which is perfect that she went against Lucinda, who is hold your ground. I'm gonna throw power shots and hurt you. Because she what is Lucinda? Brazilian? What's she?
She's Brazilian, yes.
Okay, so she looks like the fellow Brazilian Claudia Gadelha. I thought I was watching Joanna versus Claudia Gadelha. I like these. I like them both.
Well, I definitely see the stylistic matchup and the dynamic between them as playing out that way. It'll just take a few years before, okay, they are the next, or they're the poor man's version.
Yeah, Lucinda might have been reaching a little bit, but even like the body, like frame, she looks a lot like Joanna. The way she very Muay Thai style to her kicks, that's what Joanna used to always do, get in the pocket through these big combinations. Yeah, I like both of them. Amazing fight. It sucks that they're not getting a fight night bonus because I'm assuming Onama and Landwehr won. We'll get to that. Before that, Devin Clark took on undefeated fighter Azmat Murzakanov. Azmat Murzakanov is still undefeated. Devin Clark landed a high kick against him, and that was the only offense Devin Clark had, as he got his ass handed to him by Murzakanov. Murzakanov looked freaking good.
He did. There were two fights on this card that you and I picked differently. Like, we both went 5-7-1, both had an off night, but there were two fights we picked differently, and this is the one that you got right and I got wrong, because I picked Clark in the upset in this one, and I knew I was wrong about 90 seconds into the fight, and it took another 2 rounds and change for him to actually finish it. But here's something. Devin Clark is tough as nails. Like, again, somebody who fights professionally for a living, somebody that has like over 10 fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
They're not a wimp. They're not scared of anybody.
And he's fought tough dudes too.
But Devin Clark has fought differently since the Kudalaba fight where he got his face broken. Because he didn't used to react like this when he got hit. Like, Mirzakhanov's left hand was kind of glued to him all night. Mirzakhanov was hitting him clean. Mirzakhanov is a big hitter. But every time he hit Clark just kind of like looked confused and stumbled away. It reminded me of when like Dennis Kang would get hit, or like bad Frank Mir.
Okay. Dennis Kang reference.
Heck yeah. And then Technical Wealth sticks it out here. After he's been stinging him to the head all fight, late second round, he starts going downstairs. And the one that starts things going is one of the nastiest body shots you will see this year.
It's funny that he said that, because I was thinking the whole time, like, it was one of these fights where you're like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, he's going down with a body shot. It's going to happen. And then it did. Mirzakhanov, again, he beat Devin Clark. Let's not get too excited. I mean, the fight right before, I just called him Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha and the UFC debut. So, in fairness, though, you did start it when you called what was it? David Onama was the Michael Jordan, and Damon Blackshear was John Jones. Mirzakhanov looks like instantly like a contender. Like, he beat up Devin Clark, but his accuracy, his power, he also has this wrestling background. He looks like a contender in that division. Again, a division that really, if we're being honest, there isn't that top of pound for pound ranking. Like, you go through Israel Adesanya, pound for pound king. Kamaru Usman, pound for pound king. Go through the division. Charles Oliveira, Yuri Prochazka, okay, like, he's good, but he was losing with 30 seconds left against 42-year-old or whatever, however old Glover Teixeira is. That's what I'm saying. Like, and there's nobody in that division where we're going, oh, that's the guy. It used to be Ankalaev a little bit, but I feel like that buzz is even though he just picked up his biggest win, that buzz seems a little off. Could this, again, I live in the moment, could this be the guy? Could this be the guy we go, oh, here he is. This is the guy that's going to kill everybody. Again,
if he is, he's going to kind of sneak that way through the back door. I mean, he's a guy that only has 12 career fights, even though he's 35 years old. Yeah. And he's not an imposing figure physically. The one thing about light heavyweight is that typically, I mean, leave aside like a few exceptions like Teixeira and Cormier, it's a division where the guys at the top look like that you would expect the toughest guys in the world to look.
Yeah.
They're, your jacked athletes that look scary.
Yeah.
Mirzakhanov ain't that. He looks smaller than Clark.
Way smaller. He looks like a middleweight.
And he's this grizzled guy that looks like he probably looked 35 when he was 13. Like, he probably had like a beard in his 6th grade photo. He's got to kind of sneak through the back door, but he's got legit power. What he needs now is a win over an actual top 15 guy.
Yeah, and as Punches and Bunches, I like that name, said, he's 35. So we can't do this slow route. Like, you kind of have to throw him against the top 15 guy right away.
Agreed.
So who's the top 15 guy you're booking him against?
I've got two choices. It can either be Thiago Santos. Use him one more time.
That was my choice. So there you go. We have the guy.
Or the Kudalaba Walker winner.
Okay. Him versus Kudalaba would be fun. Oh, yeah,
him versus Walker. Yeah, like, whichever guy comes out. I mean, because whoever wins Kudalaba versus Walker, it's going to be something stupid. And I mean that in a good way. It's going to be something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's going to be a spinning hook kick by Walker, or it's going to be Kudalaba gets a TKO by a headbutt that nobody saw. Like, it's going to be something weird.
Yeah. So everyone's saying, and rightfully so, one, his age is obviously a big issue. They're also talking about his size. He's smaller. Yeah. Those are huge issues with this guy. That said, we talk about Daniel Cormier fighting in middleweight. People don't forget when people call for Daniel Cormier to fight heavyweight. People calling him to fight at middleweight. Like, remember that? Like, we actually thought that was a thing. Like, wow, why didn't he cut down to middleweight?
Nobody who has been face to face with the guy, I don't think, has ever said that realistically.
No,
once you've been near Cormier, like his bone structure, like there was no way that dude was making 185. Like, he's a thick dude.
Bass is calling for a Dong Jung fight. Bunch is calling for a Ryan Spann fight. I'm okay with that. Like, obviously, me and you are going a little higher. We're both playing Thiago Santos. A little bit of, I want to rush this guy because of his age. 2, Thiago Santos at this point. How many more fights can you get out of him to kind of get someone over? He's different than how we were talking about Dominick Cruz earlier, where Thiago Santos is done. Like, you kind of have to use him.
Yeah, though I'm thinking of him now, kind of like light heavyweight Frankie Edgar. Like, just get what squeeze you can out of him. And only with Edgar, there are legend fights to be made because he's a longtime former champ. With Santos, it's just like, yeah, he's a former contender who's fallen off.
Yeah, and speaking of Frank Yeager, there's another guy talking about who was a champion who was extremely undersized. I mean, he's the ultimate example of an undersized. Well, Demetrius Johnson too. Demetrius Johnson didn't even cut weight from 125, which is pretty insane. Speaking of 125, actually, this fight wasn't at 125 because Ariana Lipski missed weight, and then they rebooked it up a weight class the next 1 week later. And Priscilla Cachoeira just ran right through Ariana Lipski. You keep talking about how Ariana Lipski had all this buzz and has looked terrible. Go ahead, Ben. Take it away. Tell me again about it.
Ariana Lipski. I drank the Kool-Aid, or whatever they call Kool-Aid in Poland. She was amazing in KSW under, well, let's say European regulation. I thought she was at least a future contender. She had a lot of what Valentina Shevchenko offers, like apparent plus
except
athleticism, but her skills even looked roughly the same. She was a brutal Muay Thai influenced striker who was surprisingly good on the ground. That's Valentina Shevchenko. And she came across as a powerful, fast plus athlete, and it all just kind of melted away when she got here. She's had a few moments to give suckers like me hope, but Priscilla Cachoeira came in the opposite. You couldn't possibly have any less hype than being the sacrificial lamb for Shevchenko's flyweight debut. She got myrtleized, and all she's done since then is just kind of gradually get better, building confidence.
Mm-hmm.
She's a pretty good fighter now. Like, flyweight is depleted, but she's going to end up ranked. She might get a rematch with Shevchenko at some point. How funny would that be?
I know. So it's some of that, the buzz on both of these when they make reviews kind of influences your picks because you're like, no, she's not good, right? Cachoeira's not good. And no, Lipski's good, right? And Lipski was put on her back foot immediately. You could tell Cachoeira had no respect for her power. She was just walking her down. Was not worried about anything coming back at her. She lands that one big shot. And then, Lipski should have started looking to wrestle. She should have been looking to wrestle. And instead, she got blasted, taken out. And you mentioned it. She's won 4 out of 5 fights.
Yep.
Which is, and honestly, I don't hate her at 135. Like, I know she played up. Maybe she has even more power fighting at 135. But, 125, she's got to be facing a high-ranked opponent next. She has to.
Yep.
Like, a Caitlin Chikagian level. I'm not saying she's booked. We're not matchmaking. But, like, a high-ranked person. Like, you're going down the phone call. She ain't that far off.
And the history with Shevchenko, if she keeps winning, is almost going to play in her favor. Because normally the problem is that Shevchenko's beaten all these women already, but she beat all these women at their best. Like, she beat Maya and she beat Chukagi and Andrade when they were peaking and they were their absolute best. The fact that she beat the crap out of Cachoeira is eventually going to work in Cachoeira's favor because she's going to be able to be like, yeah, but I've won 8 of my last 9 and I'm thrashing the same people that you've been beating. Yeah. Like, come see how much better I've gotten.
It'd be like every Disney movie where, in the beginning, like the bad team, they always played the beginning of the movie, they always play the best team and get murdered by the Mighty Ducks. They play the Hawks, going to Barbara's first game. He's coaching against the best team and they get smoked. But at the end of the movie, they're going to win. So imagine that. It's like, it's a real life Disney. You get beat up by the best. You come all the way back. You improve slowly by slowly. Then you fight the championship. The only difference is somehow you're the bad guy. And the good team is a real likable, nice person. Anyways, way to go, Priscilla Cachoeira. All right, Ben, what's your favorite TV show of all time? Could be. It doesn't have to be it could be I'll say this. What's your favorite drama? Because I don't want you to say Family Guy or something like that. And shout out to the guys in chat. Everyone put out what your favorite TV show drama all time is. You'll see where I'm coming with in a second.
Yeah, I couldn't say. Obviously, I loved The Sopranos. I know what your answer is. I love, I like the ones that are like a little drama, a little comedy. I really loved The Good Place a couple years ago. I rewatched Justified recently. It's still fucking amazing.
Okay. So I have two. Like, to me, it was The Wire, and the other one I always liked was Game of Thrones. No, the last season kind of ruined it for me. But anyways, Game of Thrones. There was that scene where you've seen it, right? Ben, you've seen Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I didn't want to give away spoiler for those who there's a scene where the bad girls walking through the streets naked, and religious people are screaming shame, shame.
Yep.
For like sinning against their religion and everything. Shout out to Punches and Bunches. Throw out The Wire. That's the thing about The Wire, it still ages well. You can watch it right now. It's still great. That's what I feel like, and I'll tell you why. I picked against Gerald Meerschaert. Shame on me for doing that.
Shame.
Okay, but here's two. I was in a survivor pool. There was like 200 people in it. It was like this thing where you had 3 picks, and like every time you lose one, you made it down. And I had one person life for about, I don't know, 10 events in a row now. It got down to 4 people left. Shout out to the winner who actually picked Marlon Vera. He actually ended up winning. Everybody got eliminated. One guy picked Ode Osborne. One guy picked David Onama. I picked Bruno Silva. So not only did I go against Sherdog Meerschaert, but I got eliminated. And you know what? Yeah, I lost a chance at a pretty good payout. But I deserve it. Like, I deserve to be shamed. If this wasn't a family show, I'd walk around right now naked and let all the listeners and you yell at me shame. That's what I get for going against Sherdog Meerschaert.
You should walk around in nothing but a T-shirt that says Gerald fucking Meerschaert on it. only the thing is, this wasn't like a Gerald fucking Meerschaert performance because he didn't have to come back. He was stomping this man from the beginning. I don't know if you were going to jump to this, but I just want to jump in on it.
Yeah, good.
There's no pretty way to say this. Like, and I know that I'm treading on thin ice here, but Bruno Silva physically has looked just a tick worse in every fight since he's been in the UFC. He's just like a candle that's slowly melting.
Are you trying to tell me that he's not hanging out with Josh Quinlan? Is that what you're trying to say?
Not long enough to get a contact high, apparently.
Okay.
Because when he came to the UFC, the Blindado, the armored nickname, it fit. Here's an old school reference for you guys out there watching. He had like those Rio Heroes deltoids. You know, the dudes that like the kind of last bare knuckle promotion in Brazil.
Okay.
That,
all right.
Like, these dudes knew they were never fighting in America, so they would just roid the fuck out of themselves.
You know, yeah. Why not?
I mean, like Rousimar Palhares would have been like, average for those guys.
Like the end career surge of Mirko Krokop.
Yes,
but after the UFC, where he suddenly started knocking everybody out again. Or
one championship, Onama and Brandon Vera. Anyway, dude, like tonight, he looked like somebody had found like a little valve on him and just like let half the air out.
You know what he looked like? Going back to Game of Thrones, we'll stay on that. We still got the shame up on the screen. Season 1, again, spoiler if you haven't watched it. Braun has to save the little, I can't think of his name, the little midget guy. And he has to fight a battle. And the guy has like armor on and he's swinging wildly and just getting himself tired and just missing. And Braun is just sidestepping. Like, that's what Gerald Meerschaert was doing. And just like jab. And that's what happened. And then finally the one punch and the choke was like pushing down that little hole. That's what happened to him. And all my hopes of winning that pop. And you know what? I was okay with it. That's what I get. Because Bruno Silva looked freaking terrible. Like, terrible. He was, you know what he looked like? He looked like he was fighting in like a slip and slide. He was throwing punches and knocking himself over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many times are you going to fall over from a punch, dude, that you threw?
Yeah,
and he looked small too, as punches bunch. Like, he looked really small, which was never the case for him.
No, he was never that tall. He's 6 feet tall. It's easy to overestimate that because he just looks like such a huge dude. But there were definite avenues to victory for Meerschaert here before the fight. You knew he could win. You've seen him beat
not like that,
athletic, right? Like the thing you did not expect was for him to be the faster guy on the feet.
Yeah,
but
Bruno Silva looked better on the feet against Alex Bahia than he did against Gerald Meerschaert. Mm-hmm. And that was one fight ago.
Yeah. No, he has looked physically worse in each of his fights, like win or lose. Like he is melting before our very eyes. He needs to find a better nutritionist.
Yeah. So I had a terrible night my picks, and that was even what I thought was my worst pick. And this one, I don't think it was my worst. Hold on, let me say this. I don't think this was my worst pick. It was my most frustrating pick because I kept watching the fight and going, this is an easy win for Lupe Godinez. Like Godinez could easily win this fight if she just stopped fighting exactly how Angela Hill wants her to. Like, one, first of all, it was an incredible fight. It was a back and forth fight. Both women had their moments. But I'm going to say something right now. It's going to sound extremely. One, Lupe Godinez has a terrible fight IQ. But the worst thing that happened to Lupe Godinez is that she rocked Angela Hill in the beginning because she started falling in love with her striking. She wanted to strike with Angela Hill. And she shot one time, got caught in this little guillotine for a second and go, oh, I'm not going to shoot that again. Has she never watched Angela Hill fight? Like, I'm not going to suddenly think Angela Hill has the team alpha male, unstoppable guillotine. She's Damian Maia trying to take her down. Have you not seen her get out wrestled like 10 fights in a row? And you're the best wrestler she's facing during this run? Well, what the hell?
The funny thing is, I mean, I said on the preview that, yeah, obviously Godinez has some of the best wrestling in the women's divisions, but the interesting thing about her is that she actually shoots, like she'll actually drop levels and shoot a single or a double, and that's very rare in the women's divisions just because most of them don't come up wrestling from age 6 like boys. She started wrestling like a girl tonight. Like all of her takedowns were like from body lock and clinch attempts. Like she stopped just shooting actual takedowns like she used to, and it turned into like the Hill versus Carnelossi fight. Because the one thing Hill still can do is if you're just going to run straight at her without a level change, she will piece you the hell up.
And the worst thing is, like, she was having competitive exchanges with Hill. Like, I saw a lot of people actually score the fight for Godinez, and obviously I didn't mention Hill won a unanimous decision. I mean, you have the ticker on the bottom. But so there's actually a lot of people who scored for Godinez regardless. My point is, like, it shouldn't have been close. You sat on, like, you not only did you not wrestle, but you back yourself against the cage, fight off your back foot, and try just countering the longer rangier fighter. It's like it'd be like okay, no, I don't want to go too off the rails, but it just imagine like you're playing a football team and you know exactly what play they're gonna run. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have this. It'd be like if you're in the Super. Imagine if someone was in the Super Bowl.
Oh boy!
And imagine your team is in the Super Bowl. You're on the 1 yard line. You got a Pro Bowl running back, one of the best running backs in the league. You're 30 seconds away. You score a touchdown. You're going to win, and you throw a pass. Like, nobody would ever do that. And then the other team intercepts it and wins the Super Bowl. Like, nobody would do that. Like, that's what Lupe Godinez just did.
She Pete Carrolled the hell out of this thing.
Oh, did someone do that?
Oh, well, I don't know why. You wouldn't have even been watching the game.
No,
like, I don't think you had any, like, real stake in it.
I'm going to say something controversial. Again, worse than – this is what drives me crazy about Lupe Godinez. She's now 3 – I think she's 3-3 in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
She just lost to Angela Hill. And if she got booked tomorrow against Carlos Esparza, I would pick her to win.
I can see it.
Like, I would pick her right now over the current champion, and she just lost to somebody who's not even close to being, like, you know, in the discussion for a title shot. That's what's so aggravating about, like, I was saying if I was a cornerman of Lupe Godinez, I would have had freaking a hernia or a stroke or something. I would have been throwing shit at her. Like, what are you doing? Start wrestling.
Not much else to say but that. I mean, I've been going back and forth in the chat here. I said, Angela Hill at this point in her career, she's like a wood chipper. A wood chipper can kill you, but if it does, it's probably your fault.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Or like a chop saw. Yeah, I can if you put your hand underneath it and you know, and pull down the lever. Yeah. Anyways, just honestly though, that said, I'm happy for Angela Hill. Like, she had her back against the wall. What's up with the commentary team who kept talking about Angela Hill taking the fight on 1 week notice, and they kept making it sound like Lupe Godinez had this like huge training camp, like to the point where they got to like midway through the third, and then they had to like finally correct him. Like, oh yeah, Lupe Godinez actually took this on a week's notice too. Like,
yeah, it was a weird take.
And then even afterwards, they said it again. Like, oh, you took this fight with 1 week's notice. Like, yeah, so did the other girl.
Yep.
Maybe that's why she wasn't wrestling. I don't know.
But they had more of a weight allowance. Yeah, it was a weird performance. I am not off the Godinez train. I think these things are fixable. It might take a change of camps. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. 30 C West is not liking my love for Godinez. You might be right. She might not be that good. Maybe I'm buying magic beans with her or something. Maybe it's just not there. So you might be right. I'm still sold. If somehow she gets a title shot off of a loss to Angela Hill, I'm picking her to win. So that was the main card, right? Oh no, the Godinez fight was already on the prelims. I'm sorry. One of the fights I got right, which I don't think I should have. Martin Buday beat Lucas Brzeski, won by split decision. How did you score the fight?
I scored it for Brzeski. Yeah, and the thing is, I thought it was fairly straightforward too. Here, let me take a look.
I thought they were really overselling the damage Buday was doing. They kept saying like, "Oh, he's landing the biggest shots." Like, was he? Like, yeah, he landed some pretty good shots. So did Brzeski. Like, there was never a time where like one guy was rocked.
Yeah,
and one guy really... and the other guy doubled his output. Like straight doubled it. I think I scored the first 2 rounds for Brzeski, and then the third one I gave to Buday, and I was like, and even that I almost gave to Brzeski.
Yeah,
I apologize if I'm saying his name wrong.
The booth was all over the place with his name too, but yeah, I picked Buday to win. I don't think he won the fight, but I'll take it on a night that I can take every W I can get. Yeah,
shout out to the person the first time ever watching a recap show, and it's like, these guys do a preview show. They went 5-7 each. These guys are terrible. Why the hell? These guys even watch MMA? This guy just saying a debut in fighters, Ioane and Jake, and he just said a girl that lost Angela Hill could win the title. That one thing I'll say was Brzeski. The one thing I am impressed by his output for heavyweight. I mean, is there anybody with bigger output in the division? Now, a lot of his punches are like arm punches. He has no power, so that's a big reason why. But it's just overall volume. It's pretty impressive.
And he's a guy that I could see kind of coming in with little hype and kind of sneakily worming his way up the rankings as he gradually gets better. Kind of like a Sergey Spivak or Chris Dawkins type.
Yeah. The other thing about this fight that I thought was a really bad tell, I thought Buday was going to be closing. Like, one, I picked Buday to win, but I thought he was going to like close the distance and turn into a grinding wrestling affair against the cage, and that wasn't the case. It was an outside kickboxing match. That said, like, even though I think they picked the wrong fighter to win, I thought Brzeski won. It was a fun fight for a heavy fight. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
For lower, maybe they look a little better than they beat the very low end of the heavyweight, but I don't think either one's contender. But like, I'm excited to see him fight again. And they were Brzeski. This is 2 fights in a row where I've seen him have huge volume, and he looks physically tired, but he doesn't fight like he's tired. I think he's one of these guys who just has terrible body language.
Yep.
Where he takes these big breaths in between, combinations. He almost looks like he peaks at the time a couple times, but he doesn't stop. Like, he never lets off the gas pedal.
Agreed. And part of it is that he has also had a post-Eastern Europe body transformation. I mean, you look at his Sherdog Fight Finder photo, you look at his Contender Series appearance, then you look at him now, he's kind of gradually oozing into a different body composition.
Yeah. Before that, we had Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Ansaroff. Nina Nunes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Nunes. Sorry, the Ansaroff thing. This fight was terrible. Exactly why I would say this for a while. Like, I wasn't looking at this fight that it was going to be terrible. I felt like we had 2 fighters doing exactly like one thing And those two fighters, you had Calvillo, who was trying to wrestle, and you had
Nunes.
No, sorry, I keep want to call her answer up. I'm sorry. Nunes just kicking the legs. And Nunes was more effective with it. Like, the fight was kind of boring.
It was kind of boring. It was a classic striker versus grappler matchup back from the days when strikers and grapplers didn't make any adjustments once one of them was winning. Because you're right. Like, once we saw the first round, we knew how the rest of it was going to turn out. Alan McDonald, I'm going to throw this back up on the screen. Respect Nina for being self-aware and retiring after the fight. Absolutely. She and Amanda Nunes have one baby. They want to have more. She probably knows that it's not going to get any better than this. Like, if she doesn't retire off this, she could lose 3 or 4 in a row trying to get it, and you might as well.
She's self-aware too. Like, she's not in contention. She knows her limitations. Like she said, I'm happy. She was happy with, honestly, she overachieved, really. Like, when she beat Claudia Gadelha. Like, no one expected that. You know, she actually wasn't a competitive fight, but she had moments against Tatiana Suarez. She beat Cynthia Calvillo. I'll say this about Calvillo, kind of goes what punches as much as Calvillo has not looked good. And she's a bust, plain and simple. There's no way around it. She's a minus athlete who's really one-dimensional. And on the flip side, I thought Nina looked good. Like, even though I'm saying, like, she didn't do much, I felt like she fought the fight she had to fight and was never threatened, and she kind of just cruised without being threatened, without taking much damage. I thought she actually looked all right. And as far as her retirement, it definitely does feel like one of these ones where she's not going to return. She really is going to retire. They're going to have more babies. Good for her. She says she's going to want to do more coaching, but she actually seems like someone, when you hear interviews with her, she seems like someone who, like a Mike Brown, someone who could transition over to coaching really well. Maybe do some managing of Amanda, who obviously is the bigger star of the two. Good for her. Retire on top. And honestly, I know both of you and I are both parents. Yeah. Even better than being a fighter is being a parent. So
even better than being a fighter is being a parent, and get out before they're old enough to realize when you're getting like your face beat in. Like, don't be Sam Alvey bringing your 6 kids to your last UFC fight.
Yeah, and people who aren't parents, and I know you'll get this. Those years, they go by so fast. Like, all of a sudden, like my oldest kids are middle school. It was like yesterday they were little babies, and then just.
Dude, my youngest son co-hosts this show when you weren't here.
It goes by super fast. So congratulations to her on a good career, well deserved. So. Gabriel Benitez versus Charlie Ontiveros. Okay.
Here is how awesome Charlie Ontiveros is. You're 0-2 in the UFC. You've been finished your first 2 times. You know that there's every possibility that you're fighting for your job here. This is a must-win fight. What do? You come out and you start throwing axe kicks. And you start like trying teeps to the jaw from 6 feet away. What an aggro savage this man is.
Yeah, I love him. So he's not good. Like, he's 0-3 now. He's not durable. He can't take any damage. He gets rocked with littlest things. But we were talking about him, Rudy. I had every moment. I was gonna talk about Rudy. I had every moment. I had literally gifts waiting. And when he was winning, I'm like, oh my god. I had that one where what they call it, the rock guy. You know, the rock guy who does like I had that one keyed up. I had the one with the dad and the son. And the dad goes, this is the most beautiful sight I've ever seen. I had all these. And then what really happened? Imagine if Rudy, they call in Rudy, like, all right, Rudy, come in, and like, all right, you get your play. Instead of like tackling the guy, like the running back just runs him over, and they have to instead of them like carrying Rudy on their shoulders off the field, they had to carry him out in a stretcher. Like, that's basically what happened to this Rudy story. And if you guys don't know why we're calling Ontiveros Rudy, you had to watch the preview show to get that one. And guys, if you're not watching the preview show, like, come on, guys, we'll start watching the preview show. I mean, if you don't want the best analysis going 5 out of 13 fights, who can do better than that? I think everybody had it. I think everybody had a bad night.
Yeah, I mean, the books got taken to the cleaners, and yeah, hey, and I don't hate I hate the outcomes. I don't hate most of my thinking process.
Yeah, I still think Godinez beats Angela Hill like 9 out of 10 times. But I think she almost beat her tonight, fighting exactly the way you shouldn't fight Angela Hill. So as far as like, this fight was a lot of fun. Where Ontiveros is doing spinning shits, axe kicking him in the face, and doing all this stuff, looking great until like Benitez goes, "Oh wait, dude, you're Charlie Ontiveros. I'm just gonna grab you, pick you up," and I like he just picks him up and just drops him.
Yep.
Shout out to Michael Bisping. He's like, "Yeah, he picked him like a piece of litter and threw him down on the ground." Like, why, Bisping? You picking up trash and throwing it on the ground? Like, what's the deal, dude? Like, save the planet, brother. Like, what's up with that? But he remind me of like the Incredible Hulk, where he grabs. I don't know. I'm not a Marvel guy, but when he grabs a bad guy and just slams him around. Like, that's what this reminded me of.
Yep.
Anything else you want to talk about this fight?
Not really.
Tyson Nam took on Ode Osborne. Ode Osborne came in as a huge favorite, and Tyson Nam did I guess you guys all forgot. He still has some old man power. 38 years old, getting one punch, almost knocked him out cold, but gave him that like backwards roll and then finished him off. So Osborne kept jumping up in the air. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me like a volleyball serve. Like when you throw the volleyball up, but you don't throw it on the way up. As it starts coming down, you jump and hit it. Like that's what I felt like. Like he's coming down. Okay, I'm gonna hit him now. Good for Tyson Nam.
Seriously, good for Tyson Nam. Kind of reminded. It wasn't the exact same technique, but the way the collision happened reminded me of Mike Thomas Brown swatting Uriah Faber out of the air.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm sorry if you guys see my dog is right next to me going crazy, biting my hand and knocking the table around, just trying to play with me. This fight between me and my dog was a lot better than Jason Witt's fight against Josh Quinlan. Is Josh Quinlan knocked Jason Witt dead? Like one of those ones where you're like everyone's reaction on Twitter, like there's no analysis. It's just like, oh shit, oh my god. Adam Martin's put out the most like, wow, trying to get on the broadcast.
Adam Martin wrote like a haiku and a sonnet and tweeted them out real quick in all caps. Love you, Adam.
Yeah, I do too. He's a good dude. That said, as I'm trying to find things to talk about this fight, how do you feel about Jason Witt? I mean, sorry, not Jason Witt. Josh Quinlan going on the Contender Series, winning, getting overturned for testing positive for steroid, and his punishment is like, okay, have a suspension, but you're still going to fight in the UFC.
You're still going to fight in the UFC. Meanwhile, Bo Nickal's got to run back through the wash, but you come right on down, and we're still going to let you fight.
Ben, don't get me started, Bo Nickal, because I don't know if you saw my Twitter action. I'm all in.
Yeah.
I was all in. Listen, can I say this real quick? I was all in on Bo Nickal before it was cool to be all in on Bo Nickal. But anyways, good.
Josh Quinlan gets what I termed a bit of a soft landing in Jason Witt. He tested positive for picograms, so they move it to California, John Jones style.
Yeah.
I will say this. He impressed tonight. It won't win knockout of the year because it wasn't that kind of fireworks, but it looked like a movie punch. Just the way Witt came in, off balance, chin in the air, and Quinlan, he was perfectly planted. You can't throw it any cleaner than that. It felt like he had 5 full seconds to line that punch up. Like he was just like aiming a death ray at Earth from like some satellite in orbit. It was ridiculous.
Shout out to him too. I bashed him a little bit for the whole steroid thing, and I really think like it looks really bad at the UFC to give a guy a contract after testing positive. Like it just seems very. Don't say we're the leaders. We have USADA. We started all the stuff.
We run towards regulation. Yeah,
and then give the guy the contract. That said, whatever, we're past that now. Good of him to not land that extra shot. Like he was coming in to hit him, and then he was going straight hendo, and then decided not to. So good for him. He's got some serious power. Like that, he did it on the contender. I mean, on the contender series, he did it on the regional scene. He knocks dudes out. Some of that Jason Wick get knocked out a lot, but and before that, Yusuf Jalal took on Damon Blackshear to a majority draw. Did you score a draw?
I did score a draw. And this is another fight where you and I differed. You picked Zalal, I picked Blackshear. We both turned out right and wrong.
Yes, so we're both happy.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't feel bad about my pick.
No,
Blackshear,
he won 2 rounds.
And he gassed out like you might expect of a guy making a short notice debut who clearly has a significant weight cut. But I see all kinds of upside in this guy. And dude, on the ground, he delivered a lot of fun.
He almost submitted Zalal at one point. Zalal was doing that, like of the 2 guys reacting. Zalal was doing the one that he looked like he was upset about the draw, while Blackshear, I think he kind of had an idea. Like I think he was sitting there going, like, I probably got 10-8 there, and my best bet is a draw right now. He almost was the guy who was like happy with the draw.
Yeah.
Well, Zalal, it depends on how you scored that first round. That said, like Zalal being upset, he only has himself to blame. You're controlling a guy on the ground for like 3.5 minutes, and then you like get reversed and get like you get the round stolen for you in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah,
like shame on you, brother. And you're the veteran. Like you're the guy who's supposed to be stealing the round, not the other way around. That said, I want to moving forward with the UFC. I want a tough rule. I want to, if you have a 3-round fight and the fight goes to a draw, you get a 4th round.
Sudden victory round? Or just like another full round to get scored?
AK Baker asks, I guess none of the old school crowd is still around. We are the old school crowd, brother. I used to call on the show, but I used to be Keith from Providence, Keith from Coventry. I know Ben used to listen. Ben was hosting with TJ. We are the old school crowd. So.
Yeah. But, I mean, serious answer to your question.
Brandon. Yeah.
On the writing and editorial end, like our main staff writers and editors have been the same for 15 years. It's the radio side that's sort of gotten a reboot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there you guys have it. There's the we've done all the fights. Let's do the fun stuff. Again,
want to get to the bonuses real quick?
Oh yeah, let's get to the awards.
Okay. So in the chat, rather than guess who won the awards, say who you would give the awards to. There is one fight of the night. There are 2 performances of the night. Let us know whom you would award those things to. 2 performances.
This seems like the card where they should do like. I know Dana does want to get into where he gives everybody awards. Okay, I'm going to hold off on fight of the night because I really think there is a debate there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Performances. There's a couple of good ones. I'd give Quinlan one. I mean, he did knock him dead. I would think like the most dramatic knockout you should get it. And man, Marlon Vera with that high kick. Marlon Vera probably gets it, but to me, he was down heading into the 4th. Tyson Nam, like catching a guy as he's jumping, like coming down, that was pretty good. Cachoeira just like ran right through Lipski. Cachoeira, I almost kind of hope she gets it because she had to deal like her fight got canceled because of her opponent last week. Okay, this is me. I'm running the UFC. I'm giving it to Quinlan, and I'm giving it to Tyson Nam. Tyson Nam was a huge underdog. Cachoeira wasn't a huge. She was an underdog. She wasn't a huge underdog. So I'll give them 2. As far as fight of the night, like I said, the Sindo, the 2 Yasmin fights, that was more competitive. But Onama and Landwehr would be the fight that you got to remember more going forward. So I would go Landwehr and Onama. So I'm assuming the bonuses are what you just put up on the screen by Bass, or
no, I'm putting people's guesses,
or
people, yeah, or what their picks would be.
Let me ask you this: do you know who would do it? What would you give?
No, I know what they are, and I'm okay with them. I'd make one change.
Okay, so let's hear what.
Okay, your actual performance bonuses. Your fight of the night is Nate Landwehr versus David Onama. Your performances of the night are Marlon Vera for his 4th round knockout of Dominick Cruz, and Tyson Nam for his 1st round knockout of O'Day Osborne. I would have given them to Nam and Quinlan probably.
All right, I'm sorry. My dog was barking. It was Nam and Quinlan, and what was the awards?
No. The fight of the night was Landwehr versus Onama. The
Okay.
performances of the night were Vera and Nam.
Okay. And
I would have
Quinlan
given it
got
to
nothing.
Quinlan and
Quinlan
Nam.
got nothing.
Yeah. Which, okay, fair enough. Like, you know,
Yeah.
stop doing PEDs. But
Yeah, but he didn't do it for this. Yeah,
Yeah,
that might have been something to it. They did have to move around shit for him, so they probably been like, "Hey, dude, we already gave you enough." Yeah, and the main event, it always gets extra shine. I mean, he was losing, but how catch a where? Like ran right through her opponent, but it is what it is. I'm okay with that. Like it's okay. It wasn't like one of these ones that way out of the realm. And at the end of the day, like it's fighters getting paid more money, so that's always cool.
yes.
All right, let's get to the. You want to get to the cut list?
Yeah, let's do.
All right, let's get to the cut list. So, if you guys are not familiar with the cut list, the way this works, me and Ben, if we have a fighter on both of our lists, we give the UFC permission to cut this person and make room for other people. If one of us does not have it on their list, they get saved. I have 4 on my list. How many do you have, Ben?
I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3.
You have 3. All right, so let's get to it. Bass is throwing out Lipsky, Calvillo, and Witt. Is your first person? Are they in agreement with? Is your first person on Bass's list?
Yes.
All right. Who's your first person?
Well, actually, I don't know about first, but
Okay.
several of mine are. Like,
Okay.
I mean, all right, Jason Witt is one of mine.
Totally agree. He has lost 4 out of 6, 3 out of 4, 2 in a row. He's been in those 4 losses. He's got knocked out in all 4 of them. Jason Witt, welcome to the cut list. Give me another one, Ben.
Cynthia Calvillo.
Kobe Chaos Covington is in here. Big Kobe Chaos Covington, a big fan of Jason Witt. I'm sorry, Cynthia Calvillo.
Cynthia Calvillo,
Wow,
yes.
that's a big name. I agree. 4 fights in a row. It wasn't that long ago. She was headlining a UFC card. 4 fights in a row, man.
She's lost 4 in a row, and she's gone from top-level contenders in Chikagian and Andrade to a borderline contender in Andrea Lee to a non-contender in Nina Nunes.
Who was pretty much retired, just running, helping Amanda Nunes out. I mean, yeah. I shouldn't say helping her out, but her wife. You know what I'm saying. All right, give me another one.
It's time for Ariane Lipsky to go.
It hurts to say that. She's so pretty. Is that okay? It's okay if I just say that? She's so pretty.
I mean, I'm not judging her worth as a fighter on it, but she's a very attractive woman. I mean, she's better looking than the ring card girls. Let her step in and do that.
I think she's the prettiest woman in MMA. I really do. That said, she missed weight. She got ran through of. She's lost 3 out of 4. It's time for her to go back to Europe, go back to KSW or something like that.
I mean, point blank, she doesn't have a win over anyone that's really UFC level, except like Luana Carolina is her best win in the UFC.
Yeah. Yep. And you have one more?
I want to cut Youssef Zalal even off a draw, but I'm not going to. I think as much as it pains me to say it, I like the guy. I know him personally. I like him. I know his coach pretty well. I think it's time for Charlie Tavares to go. He's just too wild and reckless.
So fun, though. Game.
Oh, he's a blast, but it's like he can't. Like he's too wild and reckless to make that style work on.
Yeah.
And we have unanimous. That's the last person I had on my list. He's 0-3. He's just not durable guy. He's got murdered all 3 fights. He's got 11-9 record. It was fun. He gets to tell his grandchildren for the rest of his life that he was a UFC fighter, but I would cut him too. Shout out to the people in the chat. We've had multiple people giving us donations. That's really cool, you guys. We appreciate that. Keep the money coming. That said, that's not why me and Ben do it.
No.
On to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears are a stock market reference. When things are going good, it's a bull stock. Or bull market when it's going bad. Bear stock, bear market. We do it hockey style, 3, 2, 1. You want to keep it negative, Ben?
Might as well.
All right, Ben, you kick it off. Give me your
Okay.
Bears, and we'll throw out the listeners. We'll throw yours up there. So if you don't understand, it's a stock market reference. So these are people who did not have a good night.
Okay. Bear, Yusef Zalal had to know his back was against the wall. He started in the UFC with 3 wins. He was arguably the first would have been breakout star of the COVID lockdown era. And since then, he's 0-3-1. And this was the fight. This was a winnable fight for him. He could have won it just by making small adjustments. And if he'd beaten Damon Blackshear now, it's a win that I expect would have aged well. And instead, he ends up with a draw, which is enough to keep his job, but not much more than that. He should have had more coming off this. Number 2, Bruno Silva. Again, it's not just that he lost.
Yeah.
It's how he lost and how he looked. He is not the same killer he was at the beginning of his UFC run. The reasons for that are debatable, but what is not debatable is that Gerald Meerschaert was bigger, faster, better gas tank. If Gerald Meerschaert is out athleting you, you don't belong in the UFC. Like Bruno Silva almost made my cut list.
Wow.
Number 1, I'm going to throw Devin Clark out there. Devin Clark, a year or 2 ago, was a fringe contender. Like he was in Sherdog's top 15, which means he was almost certainly in the UFC's top 15 since ours takes into account other promotions. Since then, he's just not looked good. Anthony Smith, like I hate to say, like
he was headlining. He was headlining.
Yeah, he was headlining. I hate to say that like a fighter, like something broke in a fighter. It seems overly dramatic, but he's not been the same since the Anthony Smith fight. He's definitely not been the same since the Ion Kudalaba fight where he got his face broken. Tonight, he just looked like once he got hit cleanly once or twice, did not look like he wanted to be there. He gutted it out for 2.5 rounds, but I think we're done seeing Devin Clark as a potential contender, which is a weird thing to say. I did not think I'd find myself saying that now. He had a bad night tonight.
Yeah, I just imagine how it must feel to have a killer in front of you who's undefeated, blasting you in the face and the body, and you have your dad going crazy, yelling, screaming, "You got to fight!" as you have no interest in doing it. That must be tough. All right, you got one more?
Yeah, Ryan Couture. No, that was 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Clark.
Silva.
Who was the third one?
Zalal.
Oh, Zalal. Yeah. As far as the Zalal one, even though it was a draw, doesn't it feel like it's a loss for him?
Oh, well,
But
you
sometimes
mentioned
you know what I
the
mean?
different reactions. It reminds me of Donald Cerrone versus Nico Price, where they announced the draw. Nico celebrates and Donald like hangs his head. It was not quite that extreme, but yeah, it felt like a win for one guy.
Like one guy's stock went up, the other guy's stock went down.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Glory MMA. I'm a big fan of Glory MMA. They're one of the best teams, but not a good night. They went 0-2. Jason Witt knocked out cold. David Onama beat up bad. Some would argue that James Krause could have stopped that fight. Really, really bad showing for them. Glad Onama got $50K for it, so that's good. Cynthia Calvillo. I mean, it's 4 fights in a row she's lost. She's losing. I mean, like we said, it wasn't that long ago where people were talking. It wasn't that long ago she was favored against Caitlin Chikagian, which was, by the way, like one of the easiest upset picks of all time. But she was favored against Caitlin Chikagian, and now she's losing to pretty much retired fighters. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I guess she is retired now. And my number 1, you knew this person was going to be number 1 on my list. Lupi Godinez. I was terrible. I mean, maybe it's my analysis. Maybe it's me looking at a fighter, but I really thought Lupi was going to I thought she was going to maul Angela Hill. And then when she rocks her in the first couple of seconds, I go, oh, man. I was gonna be saying, guys, you can't jump on the bandwagon. I've been telling you. I was doing those like cocky asshole like tweets are coming up, you know. So not good. Let's go to the Bulls. Now these are the people who had a good night. We also do it 3, 2, 1. I'll go first this time. Is that okay?
Go for it.
All right. I'm going to go as Asma Mursakanov. You mentioned Devin Clark. Yeah, Devin Clark doesn't look like the same fighter. I agree with that. It's still a good win for him. He's undefeated. He destroyed a borderline top 15 guy. And me and you are trying to book him really high. We both said Thiago Santos next. So his next, if the UFC listens to us, we're talking about co-main event of a fight night, maybe even a really weak fight night main event. And he looks like a contender. Again, he's older, but we have a new kind of guy to watch. And as long as you have that O in your record, there's always going to be more buzz. My number 2, how about the Nunes family? Amanda Nunes, Andy Nunes, both getting victories in 3 week span.
Yep.
Obviously, Amanda Nunes getting her title back, getting back to the number 1 in the pound rankings, and then Nina, everything gets a win after a long time off, going back to being a mother. Well, I shouldn't say go back to being a mother. Always a mother, but going back to full time motherhood.
Yeah.
Good for her. And my number 1. It wasn't looking good to start, but it's 4 wins in a row. He could be in line for a title shot, and you just knocked out the greatest fighter, arguably the greatest fighter in your division history, Dominick Cruz. Regardless of where your career goes, that's a nice feather. You have wins over Frank Yeager and Dominick Cruz. Marlon Vera's stock is crazy high right now.
Awesome. I agree with all yours. I won't repeat any of them. I'll just throw a couple more on top. Number 3, the 2 Jasmines. As we both said, it's a fight that kind of highlighted both of their upside, regardless, of whether you're kind of fall where Keith has them or I have them.
No, let's do it again. Where you have them, where mine's off the screen. I'm all in.
But both of them came off looking really good. Number 2. Priscilla Cachoeira. I won't belabor it because we talked about it when we broke down that fight, but she has come from as low of expectations as you could possibly get to kind of edging into being a ranked fighter. It's the same thing we say about Marlon Vera, just at a lower level. He went from being just another guy to maybe being the guy, and she went from being nobody to, man, she's somebody.
Yes.
She doesn't just belong.
She needs to put a big spider tattoo in the back of her head. That's what she's got to do.
Okay. I like that for a plan. Yeah. Number 1, Nate Landwehr. Big underdog. Kind of, you and I both had Onama by first round knockout. Most people I know had Onama by first round knockout.
Yeah.
Landwehr almost got knocked out in the first round, and then he came back and whooped that ass. He kind of drew the blueprint for what a lot of Nate Landwehr wins are going to look like from here on out. I still, on pure potential, he doesn't have the same upside as Onama, because if one of these guys is champ 5 years from now, it's going to be Onama. But Landwehr is going to beat a lot of people before he's done, and I expect that he's going to enter the F-word middle name brotherhood along with your Darren Elkins and your Gerald Mearshart and your Paul Craigs, where just he's going to gut out these wins over bigger, faster, more skilled fighters. What a gutty performance by this man.
Yeah. I like Aaron Bronstead tweeted out something like his take at the end there was with the southern accent sounded like an early WCW when WCW was still regional.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was from Texas and stuff, and
dude,
the Von Erichs and stuff.
I'm American. Well, I wasn't born in America, but I grew up in America. I'm a native English speaker. I've lived in 3 parts of the United States with very different regional accents, like the Mid-Atlantic region, the Rocky Mountains. I lived in Salt Lake City for 15 years. Now I live in Houston, Texas. And I had to run back his post-fight interview with the subtitles on because I couldn't understand him. I needed to turn on my Hilljack translator. What the hell was that?
Next time he talks, they should have a translator, but it's like a country singer, like a hillbilly guy, but he more pop, not super hillbilly, like a Tim McGraw, little more, or Florida Georgia Line, little more popish.
No. So get Keith Urban, and he listens to him, and then says what he's saying in an Australian accent. That's what you need.
Okay, there you go. All right. We debuted this segment last week. If you guys remember, it's the Dude Seriously segment. I don't know how to explain it other than just start doing it.
Dude, seriously?
Did you remember a Dude Seriously? Do you remember that?
I remember it, and I have the feeling I know which one you're going to do, so I'm going to leave it to you.
All right. I don't know if we're gonna have the same one. Mine is gonna be shout out to the where are they? What was the arena? What's the arena in San Diego?
Pachanga.
Pachanga?
Yeah, the Pachanga Arena. Yeah.
How about the Pachanga security? Dude, I love how David Onama just you have one job as security guard, make sure they don't fight before it goes on. And the guy just watches David Onama walk right over, get in the face of Nate Landwehr, lets him mouth off for like 20 seconds, and then Onama just backs up into security. The security guard, he's wearing like a maroon jacket, just stands there the whole time. Like, dude, seriously? Like, that's your one job.
It's your one job. And this isn't Iwan Kudalaba and getting in somebody's face where you're like, oh, do I even want to get in there?
Yeah.
Those are a couple of like.
Yeah, I get it a little bit. He looked a little older. He probably, like, let's be honest, he's working security there. He's probably like a retired cop. He's got a pension from the San Diego police. He's probably like, fuck this, dude. I'm not separating trained guys going to fight each other. Like, the security was like, I was checking tickets and shit. But anyways, come on, dude. Seriously? All right. You have one? Because you said you thought you had one. Was that the one?
I'm going to pick up what I assumed you were going to go off on then. Lupi Godinez. There were 20 different ways you could have approached this fight and beaten Angela Hill. There was really one way you could definitively lose. What you would need to do is march straight at her without throwing feints and without doing level changes. If you do that, she's going to piece you up all night long. And that is exactly what she did. Yes. It's going to go, if she fulfills any measure of her potential, it's going to go down as one of her worst losses.
Yeah.
And I say that with respect to Angela Hill. Like, you know me. I'm a Hill fan. I was one of the last people to say, okay, she's kind of running out of steam at a UFC level. And this probably bought Angela Hill 3 more fights.
Yeah. Onama was sprinting around the octagon after the fight ended. I didn't see that. Did he? I'm always like tweeting. I'm putting on my scores. Yeah. I'm tweeting out like watch the recap show and all that. I didn't see that. He was sprinting around the octagon. That's pretty sad.
That's pretty dumb, dude. Like if you had that kind of gas. Yeah. I mean, I was never a fan of like the whole Clay Guida sprint around after a fight, but at least Clay Guida wasn't gassed out.
Remember when Sean Shirk, I forget who he fought, but they said that like after the fight, he went out to like the Vegas Strip and like went for a jog because he didn't get all his. Like he felt like he didn't go hard enough.
Damn.
Like imagine like, oh, is that former UFC lightweight champion Sean Shirk running? Like, did we just watch him a fight ago? I went outside to have a cigarette, and then Sean Shirk just ran by me. All right. The hardest question always is the chat was jamming, a lot of new faces and everything. Ben, who is your listener of the evening?
I mean. You got to love that we had some people going off for like 20 minutes before we even started, like Technical Wealth and Boz. I think we're both here. It's
Alan McDonald.
Alan McDonald was here. I think Alan tapped out a little early. It was good to have Scott McCrate back for sure. Always good to have, Higher Low and Ben Cooley around. I kind of, want to like just reach out and give a little olive branch to our new friend AK. I mean, we also were listening to and calling into the Sherdog radio network, back in 2005, 2006. Like Keith and I would both probably consider ourselves like kind of Jordan Breen disciples, So good to have you here. You are that rare, you're like Shaq, you're like Jordan, you're Rookie of the Year and MVP, just this one shining night. Congratulations, sir.
There you go. I'm actually going to go early. First guy who jumped in the chat, Charlie Elbling. I don't recognize it. Has he been in here before? I don't know, but he had
Charlie Elb. I think he might have been new tonight as well.
Okay, so shout out to Charlie Elbling. I'm going to give it to him. Guys, we always like to pick the new ones. But, the usual is killing it. Technical Wealth. Bass, he's like the listener of the year. Alan McDonald, another one. But hardest question is usually the listener. How about the grade? Does this card top last week's who didn't even have a decision?
I think it kind of does.
What was your grade last week? Was it an A, right?
Last week, it was just a flat A, and I was going to give tonight's card an A minus.
Oh, so then it doesn't
You know,
top
like,
it. So it doesn't top it.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. This one's also an A. Like
Okay.
last week, it just like felt like a meal of like candy and popcorn.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
this one, like the last card, it's kind of low on on divisional relevance outside of the main event, but a lot of legitimate surprises, just surprisingly good and bad performances. And it's rare that a 13 fight card goes by and I don't find myself like saying, come on, step on it, let's get things moving, or just wishing it were over. Tonight I didn't. It flowed really well.
Yeah, it's an A to me too. The only thing that's not keeping it from an A plus is we had a lot tonight. We had crazy knockouts. We had a nice slick submission. We had like fun. The two females make their debut. That was a really, really fun fight. The Onama fight was nuts. The like changing of the guard in the Cruz and Vera fight. We had a questionable decision. Like we had a draw. Like we had everything. The only thing that we didn't have is a lot of rankings changes. Right. So I feel like an A plus almost has, not always, but almost has to be a pay-per-view. But this is right there, man. This is like, I think, a card of the year candidate. So if this is your first time listening to this show, you picked a hell of an event to tune in. Yeah. So there you guys have it. We just reviewed UFC San Diego. I think we go deeper than anybody else does. So
that's what she said.
We thank you guys for your time. If you want to spend some more time, thank you guys for all the guys who are commenting, keeping the chat, making the show fun. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff that me and Ben always forget to ask you guys to do. And we will be back early Monday morning. We have previewing UFC 278.
Usman versus Edwards 2.
A fight that I feel like we've been talking about forever because poor Leon Edwards, we've been waiting for him to get his title shot forever. So both me and Ben will be giving all our previews and our predictions. I will not be back for next week's recap. So Ben will be here. I don't know if you'll have a special guest. I apologize. So if you guys don't listen to the preview, but you only listen to the recap, I'm actually going to be traveling. I'm going to be in Virginia. I'm going to be in Williamsburg. So I'm going to watch the fights. I'm going to go to the Buffalo Wild Wings in Williamsburg. Listen, if you're in the area, literally come out. Like I'm going to be by myself. Like I'm traveling with my wife and kids. They're not going to come to a bar. So if you're there, dude, come like hang out with me. That'd be freaking awesome. So if you're in the Williamsburg, Virginia area, come watch the fights with me.
There you go.
So there you guys have it. We'll be back. See you next week.